Hello guys, my name is.
I told you
It doesn't matter what your name is!
Today we are counting down top 10 Korean movies you should watch. Let's go. Number 10, The Host. It's rare for a monster movie to gain the sort of acclaim to call it a masterpiece. But that's what you get when you have a filmmaker like Bong Joon-ho taking on the monster genre. The brilliant auteur mashes genres together, making something that feels absolutely unique. On the surface, the plot is pretty standard. It centers on a family who come together to rescue their young daughter after she is taken by a monster. The movie avoids cliché by having a truly unusual group of heroes at its center and infusing the whole movie with an unexpected dose of humor. Parasite was an absolute international success upon its release in 2019. Not only was it the first South Korean Palme d'Or winner, it also scored 4 Academy Awards. In many ways, it truly made history and is considered one of the newest and yet most solid additions to the South Korean film industry. Parasite is first and foremost a commentary on the income differences within South Korean society that still persist today. However, when the son of the Kim family, Ki-wook, is given a job as a tutor in the rich Park family house, the entire Kim family devises a plan to get rich quick. If there is one thing South Korean films have gained a reputation for, it's brutal and bloody thrillers. The films of that country that seem to connect most with international audiences tend to be quite difficult to watch. Perhaps none are more intense than I Saw the Devil. Kim Ji-woon's revenge thriller centers on a special service agent who seeks retribution against a man who murdered his fiancée. What follows is a cat-and-mouse game where these two violent men fight for control over the other. The film is an unrelenting tale of vengeance that refuses to go easy on its audience. Bong Joon-ho is an incredibly versatile filmmaker whose films all feel unique from one another. Here, he tackles perhaps his most tragic story. The film follows a middle-aged woman whose mentally challenged son is accused of murder. The matriarch then sets out on a quest to protect her son at all costs and find the real killer. One of the great talents of Joon-ho as a filmmaker is his skill at balancing seemingly opposite tones to fantastic effect. The film manages to pull off being a family drama, a tense crime thriller and, at times, a hilarious satire. There have been plenty of great horror films to come out of South Korea, and the recent zombie epic Train to Busan is among the very best of the sub-genre. As the country is overrun with a zombie outbreak, a group of desperate survivors board a train to Busan, the supposed last safe place in Korea. The movie takes the familiar genre and infuses it with thoughtful commentary, unbearable suspense, and some amazing action sequences. The Wailing tells the story of a small village that has been taken over by a mysterious epidemic of rage and violence upon the arrival of a suspicious stranger. Over time, the rage and suspicion turns to something more sinister as the villagers begin to brutally murder one another. What starts out as a simple story of villagers fearing and condemning a stranger new to town quickly turns into a complex narrative revolving around demons, witches, and other spiritual and supernatural entities. This Korean horror movie is a must-watch for anyone who is a fan of the genre. Number 4, The Handmaiden. This erotic thriller is set in Japanese-occupied Korea in the 1930s and follows a young woman who is hired to be a handmaiden for a Japanese heiress. From there she enters a tense and paranoid world of lust and betrayal. The film does great work in exploring gender roles and constantly uses that perspective to subvert audiences' expectations. It is filled with wild twists and just enough melodrama to make this a highly compelling thriller. The most recent film on this list has already cemented its place as one of the best films to ever come out of South Korea. While most films on this list feature significant violence, Burning achieves the same kind of tension from the unknown. The complex and compelling story follows a young man who is forced to take over his family farm when his father is sent to prison. He reunites and becomes infatuated with a girl from his past, but things are complicated when she introduces her wealthy friend who holds a dark secret. The film is a brilliant examination of truth and unanswered questions anchored by a bone-chilling performance from The Walking Dead's Steven Yeun. Oldboy is probably the most famous movie on this list and its popularity is well earned. While the ill-advised American remake was a flop, the original remains a disturbing action thriller masterpiece. Based on a Japanese manga, the film follows a man who is kept in captivity for several years only to be released without explanation, sending him on a vengeful quest. This is the second installment in Park Chan-wook's Vengeance trilogy, full of dark twists and the iconic single-take hammer fight. The movie is a thrill for all those who can stomach its brutality. Number 1. Memories of Murder. This police procedural is based on the real-life murders that took place in Korea in the 1980s. The film follows the desperate and frustrating investigation into the crimes, never shying away from the ineptitude and brutality of the police. As with many of Joon-ho's films, it is filled with dark humor that slowly fades away as more bodies appear, one of the greatest murder mysteries of all time. There you have it. 10 of the best Korean movies. We can't recommend any of these enough, so do yourself a favor and add each of them to your watch list. And don't worry, you'll get used to the subtitles in no time at all.